everyone. My name is Kelly Davis, and I'm an outreach specialist with the Pennsylvania Treasury Department. Before we get started, I just want to go over some logistics that all participants are in listen-only mode. And to ask questions, if you just type those into the chat box and hit return, we can get to those at the end of the presentation. So we all know that education gives the power to improve your life in so many ways. It's a powerful tool. It can open doors to new possibilities for your children and, of course, yourself. Gives your families tools of confidence to succeed. Provides you and your children with a roadmap to secure future. Children who know that they have a sum of money saved for them are more likely to do better in school, have higher expectations of continuing their education even after 12th grade. So it's just another reason why a savings account is important. Fortunately, we often see the cost of education and the cost of tuition being extremely high, and it does continue to rise. So this chart is just showing the projection cost of tuition both 10 and 20 years down the road. Now, I myself have a young daughter, so I'm looking at those numbers down the road, and they're scary. So we need to tackle and start saving as soon as possible because these children, we don't want to burden these children with those big numbers at the far end. I mean, 156,000 is just incredibly too high, and we don't want that for our children. So that's why it's important to start saving early. Pennsylvania Treasury has developed three programs, or a few programs, I should say, but three programs that will just here to help build a better future. We have the Keystone Scholars program, which provides $100 for newborns to be used for qualified higher education expenses. I'll get into details on all of these. Along with that, we also have Bright Future Booster and the Savings Pledge, just to really help and encourage you to do these type of programs. We also have the Pennsylvania 529 College and Career Savings Program. And this is just a tax-advantaged way to save and pay for future education expenses. And lastly, we have the Pennsylvania ABLE Savings Program. This is a tax-advantaged way to save and pay for disability-related expenses. So in order to kickstart this process, we have some incentives to help families get started with savings, such as the Keystone Scholars, Bright Future Booster, and the Savings Pledge. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about those at this point. Keystone Scholars being the first of topics. It can be hard to really get started with this savings, which is why Keystone Scholars was created in 2019. We did have a pilot program in 2018, which allowed us to go around 6 counties throughout the Commonwealth and see how well this was received. And due to obviously it being successful, it has now become law and legislature passed it. And now every baby born or adopted to a Pennsylvania resident starting in 2019 will receive $100 invested for their future. So the purpose of these is really to help new moms and dads start saving for their baby's education as early as possible. And the savings does add up over time. Saving early can help children get off to a good start. Research supports and values that these children with savings account and benefits to children and, of course, the overall community. So we have newborns automatically qualify at birth. You can go online to view your account's balance, and the $100 does grow. It's not just $100, but it will grow over those 18 years and be valued at more. So it's automatic for everyone. As I mentioned, it's every baby qualifies at birth. And from age 18 to 29, your child can use this money for higher education costs, and of course, to pursue whatever path they choose. These expenses include tuition, fees, books, vocational or technical schools, community college, 2-year and 4-year schools. You cannot add directly into your Keystone Scholar account, but what parents can do is open up a 529 plan, which we'll talk about later. You can open up a 529 plan and link the two together. So you can essentially link or contribute into your 529 plan, link your Keystone Scholars, and keep track of both of them all in one place. So we're trying to make it a little bit easier for everybody. And you can start the 529 plan with as little as $10. So we'll get into that in a few slides here. To get started, very simple. You just go to pa529.com, Keystone. And you use some information off of your child's birth certificate. So Pennsylvania Treasury recommends that you pre-register, and then you can access your online account once you receive a letter from us with the instructions on how to log in. By accessing your Keystone Scholar account online, you can track the growth of the funds and link a PA 529 account so that you can view all your education savings in one place. So I'll talk a little bit more. Eligible families will receive a letter from us here in PA Treasury, approximately 5 to 6 months after the child is born. The letter will provide information on how to pre-register for online access using, again, that information from the birth certificate. If you are expecting or have not yet received the letter, you can always pre-register again at the website, and you could give us a call at our customer service line. And all you do is enter in your child's due date or their birthday when they were born. So if you don't have that letter, you'd be able to access online using information found on the child birth certificate. Every dollar counts when it comes to paying for education. The $100 starter deposit is meant to help families jumpstart their savings as soon as possible. And if a family decides to open that 529 plan and put in just $25 per month, starting when the child is born, by the age of 18, that grows to an approximate $10,000. A new program that we have running right now is called Bright Future Booster. And this is for babies born between January 1st and June 30th of this year, moms who are enrolled in WIC. That all this money is funded by philanthropic donors, and we get this birth data from Department of Health. So if you're asking, how do you know that I had a child? Department of Health sends over the file, and that's why it takes a few months to get over to us. And then we send out a letter based on that. And on that, there's self-reporting when you have a child if the mother is enrolled in WIC. So what happens is mother enrolled in WIC will receive $150 initial deposit, whereas mothers not enrolled in WIC will receive that $100. So it's just, again, kind of something we're trying out and seeing what goes on, again, from philanthropic donors. So it's not money taken out of any accounts or anything like that. It's free money coming into us, and we're using it to, of course, give back. And we also found a fun way to help families save each month. This one's more exciting to talk about because you can win money. So through a partnership with an organization we have called Fund My Future, we created this Pennsylvania Savings Pledge. And what that's really doing is to encourage and incentivize families to save frequently, and you could be rewarded for that. So by pledging to save for your child's future, you enroll in Fund My Future's raffle. You'll receive electronic emails with raffle tickets. And if your ticket is pulled, you simply can win part of a share of $8,000 in prizes. So a lot of people, they keep changing the number, so please forgive me on that, but I believe 5 people will receive $1,000 and the rest will receive $50. So it's a lot of money up for grabs each and every month. Fund My Future is like prize-linked savings program. It's available to all families in Pennsylvania with children from the age birth to age 18. Provides raffle tickets monthly to incentivize families to make deposits into their child's account. And again, it draws from that 8,000. It has increased. It was 5,000. It's up now to 8,000 each month. Any adult who lives in Pennsylvania can enroll and open a PA 529 account or other savings account at a financial institute. So it has to be on behalf of the child, and you make deposits in each month. That's all it has to happen. So if you want to open up a checking or savings account and contribute just even $1 per month, you would be entered to win. Or you can sign up and start contributing into the 529 plan, and our minimum is $10. So just $10 per month or $1 per month enters you to win, and that can help you. So you would just take the pledge by going to pa529.com/PA saves. You do not need to pledge separately for each child. You only need to sign up once, specifying how many children you will be saving for. And then each participant receives 1 raffle ticket per month, regardless of the number of children. Right. And if you already have an account for your child, maybe you already have a 529 plan, or you already have a checking account or savings account, you don't need to open a new account. You're already saving. So just make the pledge saying that you are continually putting money into the account. Maybe you're doing out of your paycheck or something like that, or you're putting in money each week for chores or an allowance. That's it. That's all you have to do. Pledge that you're saving, and that is entering you to win. So we have the Keystone Scholars program, of course, which is for babies. Now we also have the 529 plan, and it's just really a tax advantaged way to save and pay for future education expenses. If you did a quick Google search of 529 plans, you would see tons of information. Each state has at least one plan. Us here in Pennsylvania, we have two programs, the Guaranteed Savings Plan and the Investment Plans. We'll get into specifics on those after we go over some of the exciting tax advantages. So why people choose 529 plans instead of just putting in your savings account is because of these benefits. I think the first one, being the best, is the state tax deduction. So all the money you contribute into your account, up to $15,000 per year per taxpayer, you can write off of your state personal income taxes. Now, if you are filing jointly and you both have income of at least $15,000 per year, that doubles to $30,000. So having a $30,000 write-off is definitely helpful. Now, it is state only, but still, it's extremely helpful. We have some federal advantages as well. The earnings grow state and federally tax deferred and tax-free when used for qualified expenses. These can be used at Pennsylvania schools, out-of-state schools, career schools, technical schools, basically anything that's recognized by Department of Ed. So these can be schools such as Empire Beauty School or Penn Tech. We have York Technical Institute here where I'm from Harrisburg. So some different tech schools all over the Commonwealth, the whole way up to some of our Ivy Leagues, and our Ivy League here in Pennsylvania is Penn, of course, University of Pennsylvania. There are no contribution or income restrictions, and we have free reward programs that allow for accelerated earning and discounts. So we have in the middle is that You Promise, and You Promise is just a reward program. You register your little bonus cards or debit or credit card when you buy participating products. A portion of that then gets put into You Promise account. It is a very small portion, but still. And once that reaches $25, that gets swept over to your 529 plan. So it's additional contributions coming in. And I like that plan. For my daughter, I went and took my sister, my in-laws, of course, my parents and ours, and registered them. So when they're buying products, that have this logo on it, they're contributing to my daughter's account without even really noticing or without any money coming out of their pocket. So it's really easy and a great opportunity. We also have Sage Scholar tuition rewards. This is very similar to frequent flyer miles. The more money you're putting into your 529 plan, Sage will match that 10% of that each quarter and put into a Sage fund. If the child goes to a participating private school, then the money can help reduce tuition. So participating private school, that's Villanova, Duquesne, Lehigh. So some of those, expensive private schools that are out there. We have a lot here in Pennsylvania, but these can help reduce the tuition. Now, I'm sure you guys know when you're applying for financial aid, you apply for both state and federal aid. 529 plans are considered a parental asset for federal aid. So they only look at about 6% of your 529 plan as an asset. They don't look at it in its entirety. Again, they only look at 6% for federal aid. Now for state aid, and that's run through FIA, but state aid, it depends. So if you're a Pennsylvania resident putting into the Pennsylvania 529 plan, then those assets, that is not counted at all. If you are a Pennsylvania resident putting into an out-of-state program, out-of-state 529, then it will be counted. So again, it's just kind of a little bit enticing of why you would open Pennsylvania plan versus the out-of-state plan, but it's really personal preference. Now we're going to talk about the first program I mentioned, kind of the Guaranteed Savings Plan. This is a lower risk plan. It's adjusted once annually and is not the ups and downs of the market. So people like that because it's a little bit more conservative. And what this is doing essentially is keeping pace with tuition inflation. It can be used both in Pennsylvania or out of state. And we have 5 different average levels that families can choose from to see where their savings are in progress. We have a minimum to open the account is $10. We have extremely low fees. Of course, with any investment plan, the fee structure is going to be there. And our fees are very low and very competitive within all the 529 plans out there. And one of our biggest and proudest things is that we are over 130% fully funded. So if everybody that had a 529 right now were to take their money out, we would be able to give them at least what they contributed plus some. So we have a fully funded account, which I wish all of our other finances were fully funded for everybody, but the 529 plan is, and that's a good thing. So the guaranteed savings plan, what you do is you designate a tuition level. So you have a young child. Your child probably doesn't know really what they want to go to school to be. My daughter last night actually had a kindergarten graduation, and she said she wanted to be a dance teacher. Mind you, she just told me the other day she doesn't even like dance, and we're not doing that again. So they're going to change their minds. What's nice is that these are very flexible, and you don't have to stay within the level that you designate. You can change that. But you're saving enough for one credit today to pay one credit down the road. So I always have a very, very generic example that I give out. If a college credit costs $100 today, maybe when your child goes, it'll cost $300. So you bought a credit at $100. We're going to pay it out at $300. That $200 difference is your tax-free earnings. So you buy it today, we're going to pay it out at that higher level, provided tuition goes up. And that money in between is just considered your earnings. These are the 5 average levels you can choose from: average community college, state system, state-related average, private 4-year, and Ivy League school. And the private 4-year is all the private schools in Pennsylvania averaged together, and the Ivy League is all 8 Ivy Leagues across the country. As I mentioned, it's very flexible. If you decide to change your tuition level at any time, which you're allowed to do, it just changes retroactively to the date of each contribution. So it'll look like you were saving at that new level the entire time. Basically goes in and recalculates it. And if your child attends any of the schools that are on the right-hand side of your screen, those specific tuition levels or the Pennsylvania publicly funded schools, then it will automatically revert to that. So let's say you're saving at the state-related average and your child decides to go to Edinburgh. No problem. It'll just retroactively recalculate and go to Edinburgh's level. So then all the increases will be based off of Edinburgh. So why is it important for you to designate a tuition level when you're able to change it and it's flexible? There's really 2 reasons. One of them is so that I can tell you it's 130% fully funded, that it aids us in actuarial analysis. But more importantly, it helps account owners measure towards progress and really see, okay, I have 2 years covered at the state system school. If my child decides to go to Penn State, I can only pay about half of that. So it gives you really just kind of a measurement for you. Here's another example that gives you exactly how this works. So let's look at 2017-18. The credit was $312.17. So you are taking that and dividing into your contribution, which in this example is $100. And what that gets you is how many credits you purchased. So 0.320. Now, the next school year, in a few years, the rate has increased. And rather than 312, it's actually $321.50. So you're taking your contribution, $100, dividing by your credit rate, $321.50, to get you your credits. Now, obviously what this is showing is it's more advantageous to purchase as much as you can today, because it's more likely going to be the cheapest than it will be tomorrow. I don't foresee them actually reducing tuition. We have seen a lot of freezes in tuition, but not actually deductions. Another real quick example here for you. Okay, so this is very generic, I know, but if you had made a contribution of $5,000, tuition inflation grew and increased to $6,500, and the market, we always keep track of the market and how that does with your investment as well, would have grown to $900 to $5,900. Because the guaranteed savings plan is based off of tuition inflation, the amount you're able to use is $6,500. Well, that's great in that example, but what happens if the opposite happens? What happens if the market outperforms the tuition inflation? Because of this plan, you get the tuition inflation value. So that's really a question, one of the many questions you can ask yourself when deciding between which plan. Do you think that the market is going to outperform tuition inflation? If you think so, then perhaps the investment plan is a better option or one to look into. If you think tuition inflation is going to outpace the market, then the guaranteed savings plan might be a better option. Now, there's a lot that goes into making that decision. That's just one of many questions. How long do you have to save? How many children? How much do you intend on putting in? I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So we can't give out advice as to which one's right for me, because it really is personal preference, but just kind of gives you something to think about at least. Now we're going to switch gears and talk about the investment plan. The investment plan offers a number of investment options, all from Vanguard, which is right here in Pennsylvania. And with that, we have a $10 minimum to open. We have very low fees. And something we're extremely proud of is our Morningstar Silver rating. So Pennsylvania Investment Plan is one of only 3 plans that have experienced an upgrade from neutral to silver in just 2 years. And this rating really puts us in the best of class within all the plans here in the country. So we're really excited and happy about that. So within the investment plan, we have a lot of different options that you can choose from, these being fixed options and target enrollment, which you can see on this screen. One of our more popular is the target enrollment, just because you can set it and let it go. So this allows families to select an asset allocation that matches closely to their child's projected enrollment date. So when the child's going to graduate and enter school. These type of programs are easy to just set it and let it go. Allowing for more frequent and smaller asset allocation adjustments allows for frequent rebalancing, which reduces your overall risk. So that does help the family stay on track a little better and is extremely important. Okay, so we've talked about these 2 plans and you've mentioned all the benefits to them, but where and how can I use these? So you can use them for a lot of different things. Pretty much anything that's mandatory by the university, you can use them for. Tuition, mandatory fees, room and board, special needs, computers, even off-campus housing, because obviously the child needs to live somewhere. So your off-campus housing would qualify as well. And then recently there have been some additional things that have been added, such as using up to $10,000 per year for tuition at a K-12 school. So if your child goes to a private school, you can use this. Now they do have to be enrolled at K-12. It isn't preschool. So that is something a lot of times we get the question on. But just K-12 tuition, $10,000 per year. If there's a registered or certified apprenticeship program, you can use funds for that. And if you took out a loan in 2019 or forward, so 2019, 20, or 21, then you are able to actually pay back on your loans. And this does have a lifetime limit of $10,000. So you can only withdraw up to $10,000, but previously you weren't allowed to use 529s at all for loans. So this is a definite step in the right direction for us. So the saving process, again, is very easy. If we break it down to 4 steps. First, you open an account. You go to pa529.com and hit enroll, which will be on the right-hand side of your screen. And then you put a minimum contribution in. Minimum contribution is $10, or you can always put in the maximum of $511,758. And someone always asks, where did you get that number? And I'll tell you, that number actually represents how much it costs to go to University of Pennsylvania for 4 years and 2 years at Wharton Business School. And that's considered the most expensive education that you can receive here in Pennsylvania. So $500,000 can get you that elite education. Most of us don't have that money. So we have to chip away at those numbers, which leads me to number 2. You make contributions. So you can put in any amount of at least $10 anytime. Maybe you had just extra $10 this week or this month. Maybe it was a holiday, or they did go down a report card. You can also set up payroll deduction or automatic bank withdrawals. That's my favorite, just because I'm a more systematic person. If I don't have it, then I can't spend it. So it's taken out of my paycheck every pay, and then it goes directly into the account so I don't see it, which is great too, because I know I'd spend it probably at Target or Walmart anyway. So might as well take it out before I'm able to spend it and go shopping. And we also have View Gift, which allows family members to put money in. So I know growing up, I always received savings bonds on birthdays and Christmas from my grandparents and other relatives. And, you know, when you're young, you're like, this is the worst gift ever, but the piece of paper meant nothing. But when you're older and you cash those in and it really comes out to some decent money and something for you, it's one of the best gifts you can give. Then step 3 is maintain the account. Again, guaranteed savings plan grows with inflation, tuition inflation. Investment plan grows with the markets. And lastly, the account owner decides and directs who gets paid, how much, where, and when. And they're in complete control of the account. So you want to make sure that you are, in fact, having the person that will be asking the questions and calling customer service and things like that. So you can always have that person involved. I mentioned this statistic a little earlier, but just really want to stress the point that saving as little as $25 per month for 18 years could yield you about $10,000 by the time the child reaches age 18. So that is important. That little bit of savings, as I mentioned, $10 a month, that seems like nothing, but that really is going to help your child. I mean, 10,000 is 10,000 less that you'll have to borrow and pay back. We're going to change gears here and talk about the Pennsylvania ABLE program lastly in my PowerPoint today, or my slideshow. So what is ABLE? So an ABLE account is a savings and investment product for people with disabilities to use for qualified disability related expenses. One of the most significant features of ABLE accounts is that the funds in the account are not counted when determining eligibility for federal means tested benefits. There are some limitations for supplemental security income, SSI, and we'll go over that, of course. Through ABLE, for the first time, many individuals with disabilities can save for a more secure future and have the ability to control their own funds. And it also gets some great state and federal tax benefits as well. So the federal law states that assets in an ABLE account or qualified withdrawals from an account are not counted in any federal means tested benefits. Again, the limitation to SSI. PA ABLE assets are not counted against Pennsylvania needs-based benefits as well. And this has to do with disability, health, or student financial aid. It's extremely important because without ABLE, it was very limited to how much individuals with disabilities could save and still receive these government benefits. So traditional SSI recipients typically could only have about $2,000 in assets. They have more than $2,000, it could jeopardize their benefits. Now with the creation of ABLE program, in addition to that $2,000, you can save up to $100,000 in an ABLE account, which makes a huge difference, giving a person with a disability the ability to save for a car or a house or pay just everyday living expenses. Just really allows you to save for what you want, save for your future. If you go above that $100,000 threshold, then your SSI benefits will be suspended, but not terminated. And then whole-time medical assistance will continue. ABLE account owners who do not receive SSI can save more than $500,000 in ABLE as well. So we have to talk about this, something that's new to us as well, but the past year, of course, COVID-19 related payments. So the government stimulus payments. During the COVID-19 pandemic, they can be deposited in the stimulus payments, can be deposited into ABLE accounts. These stimulus payments must be either spent or deposited to an ABLE account within 12 months. Otherwise, these funds will count as an asset. And of course, that could possibly reduce your benefits. Now, unemployment payments, including that extra money, I believe it's $300 right now per week. It was $600 one time, so I could be wrong. I'm not sure if that has changed or not, but because of COVID-19, these are counted as unearned income for SSI, Social Security income. By paying stimulus payments or unemployment funds in an ABLE account, they do not count as assets in the future and will not be counted towards your $2,000 asset limit. So this is just our disclaimer page, letting you know that, of course, I went over a lot of information, but there is a lot more. There's a lot more details that go into these programs, and you can always go on to our website and view more things. Here's just kind of a quick online resource links. I talked about all those programs that are listed in red on your right-hand side of the screen. We also have our customer service line, 800-440-4000, and we're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And you can always email with questions as well at pa529@patreasury.gov. I just want to thank you today for reaching out. Before I go and answer any questions that might have come up, I did want to let you know that if you're interested in any of these programs, we can get you materials, brochures, flyers that you can display anywhere if you're interested. We could, there's webinars that we can do specifically on the ABLE program or specifically on the 529, more in depth. So just giving you an overview of all the Treasury programs that we offer, but we do have more information on each one individually that we can do as well. So I just want to thank you today for being on here with me and learning about all the programs that we here at Treasury offer. And on behalf of Treasurer Garrity, right here from Bradford County, thank you so much for participating.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I did have a couple of questions that have come up for me personally and for other people I know. So my understanding is that the Keystone Scholars program is open for children born 2019 and later. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. But that the 529 is for anyone who—
Correct. Yes, you as a parent could even open a 529 plan for yourself. So let's say you're going back to school, continuing education, you could open up a 529 plan and put your money in there and withdraw it and use it for yourself. So it's really for anybody.
All right. And then the only one that had an income restriction was the booster. Is that correct?
Correct. That is for mothers enrolled in WIC. If they're enrolled at WIC the time the baby is born, then they'll receive an additional $50. So they'll receive $150 versus mothers not enrolled in WIC that will receive $100.
Okay. And then it was my understanding that with the Keystone Scholars program, that if a child was born, the parent should have received something from Keystone Scholars?
Correct. So a few months after the baby's born, we send out a letter from Pennsylvania Treasury. I believe they said they just sent out January. So as you can see, it's a few months late, but we have to get that information from Department of Health. And they send over the documentations to us, letting us know who had a baby. We send that out to you, letting you know that your baby got $100 Get Started deposit for saving for education.
Okay, wonderful. And then I had another question. Oh, goodness. Oh, with the PA ABLE, that's available to any disabled person, or is there an age restriction or anything like that?
Yes. So there is some eligibility for the ABLE program. The ABLE program, you have to have a qualifying disability, and that the onset of the disability had to be prior to age 26. So right now there is legislation out there definitely to increase that number. It's been talked about and extremely pushed, and a lot of people are standing behind this and really rallying against having it so low at 26. But if the onset of your disability happened prior to age 26, then you're eligible for ABLE. Okay. If, let's say, you had like a traumatic injury or something after, then at this point you would not qualify. So as long as you had the disability prior to age 26.
Okay. And then the money saved in PA ABLE accounts is, you said that could be for saving for medical care, but it could also be for day-to-day expenses like housing and so forth?
Correct. ABLE is very, very broad. It's fairly new. So the federal law hasn't really specified, or the IRS, they gave us 11 categories that it can fall under. And those consist of housing, financial, socialization, education. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, which of course would be available on our website. But what else is there is basic living expenses. So your day-to-day, your monthly bills that you have, you want to go to Disneyland. If you want to go to Disneyland or Disney World, no problem. That's part of the socialization. It would fall in there. So you would be able to use your ABLE program for that as well.
I have one more question about PA ABLE. I have a friend that has a sister who she's, I don't know how to explain it. She receives disability and she has to have a guardian that handles her finances.
Yes.
Is there a guardian restriction with PA ABLE?
So there is room. It depends on the legal capacity of the person with the disability. The person with the disability will always be the account owner.
Correct.
It's just a matter of if they have a representative payee or a parent that is in charge of the funds along with them, to kind of, depending on the severity of the disability and what access they want them to have, if that makes sense. So that
was the question, was whether she would be able to set it up for her sister now that their parents are deceased.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. We have here in Bradford County, Martha Lloyd communities. I don't know if you're familiar with those. They're for intellectually and mostly intellectually disabled, but a lot of disabled people, and they're group homes. If we were able to partner with them, would you be able to do a PA ABLE program for them at some point, perhaps?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'd love to.
All right, because I know they have a large number of communities in several of our areas, and they're mostly group homes. And then I believe they also do a day program for some of the people that do live at home. So I think that'd be the best way to reach the largest number of people that would benefit from that.
Absolutely. And again, we can get them brochures and marketing materials as well, so that people can become a little bit more familiar with that. And then of course we can definitely do a webinar, or hopefully soon we'll be allowed to get out and travel and I could come up and do a presentation.
That'd be amazing. I think I have PA ABLE flyers left that I didn't. I think I had more of those. And so I will drop those off to Martha Lloyd as well. But if not, I'll reach out to you to get more.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
All right. And then to anyone that watches this video or is tuning in, if you're having any issues with connectivity and are not able to go onto one of the websites to look at the Keystone Scholars or PA ABLE or the 529, your public library has computers available with internet. We're happy to help you with the logging in and so forth. We can't give you any advice or anything, but we can definitely help you connect where you need to connect so that you can take advantage of programs like this. So please don't think that if you do not have access to the internet that you are not eligible for these programs. We will make sure that you have access. Kelly, did you have anything more to add?
No, I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to present and inviting me to share this information with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to share this with our patrons. I'm definitely going to encourage everyone I know that has had a child in the last year and a half to be aware of this and to be looking at it. And everyone I know that has a child to be looking at the 529 plans as long-term options, because education is just so overwhelming and it's just a lot. So
yes,
this information. Thank you for including your contact information. I'll make sure that I include that when we share the recording as well, so that they can reach out to you if they have more questions.
Perfect. Great.
Thank you so much, Kelly. You have a wonderful holiday weekend, and thank you for your expertise on this matter.
Thank you. You too. Have a great weekend.
You too, hon.
Bye-bye.